go. So let us move on to 1.3, talk about linear equations. So remember that in the family of functions, we have different members. So our objective is linear function. And let's put an S. So we include all of them. So when we classify functions, we have a very big family of functions. When you're talking about, for example, functions, the very function that comes to mind is constant function. Y equals to C as a constant function. Very good. Constant function, and then linear function. So let me write down the name, constant function. Then you have Y equals to mx plus b, which is a linear function. Then you have y equals to ax squared plus bx plus c, quadratic functions. Ax squared plus bx plus c, or quadratic functions. Then we have polynomials. Y equals to an x to the n plus terms a1x plus a sub 0, or polynomials. We have logarithmic functions, exponential function. Okay, let me just follow what I wrote down. Y equals to a to the x, or exponential function. Exponential. Then the inverse of exponential are called logarithmic functions. Y equals to log of x base a. Logarithmic functions. We have power functions. Y equals to x to the n. Power functions. Then the list just keeps going and going. Then you have trig functions. Y equals to sine x, cosine x, and the rest of them trig functions, trigonometric functions. So our goal in pre-calculus class is to analyze these functions, and in pre-calc 2, you're mainly concerned with trig functions. That's a huge world out there. A constant function is just a horizontal line. But when it comes to a linear function, we have different representation. A linear function is defined as y equals mx plus b. They usually say that, hey, m, which is a number multiplied by x, is the slope or rate of change. M, which is a number, it is equal to the slope or rate of change. In calculus, you learn techniques to actually take the derivative and find the rate of change. But in this class, it's given to us m, or by doing algebra, we find it. We don't need any calculus there. And b is called the y-intercept, the point of intersection with the vertical line or y-axis. Okay, so I expect you to ask, how can I write the equation of a line? To write equation of a line, we have the following scenarios. In each case, in each scenario, we have to apply a technique. In the first scenario, you are given one number like the slope and the y-intercept. Super easy, nothing to worry about. You substitute everything and then you're done. M and B are given. So what you just need to do is substitute that into the equation of the line. Just substitute in y equals mx plus b. 2. 1 point and the slope are given to us. M and 1 point like x sub 0, y sub 0 are given. Okay. In this case, if you have a situation like this, you're going to follow point slope formula. So if we are in the second scenario, we use the point slope formula. Well, what is that? You have y minus y sub 0 equals to m times x minus x sub 0. Y and x, those are variables. We do not replace anything there. However, y sub 0, m, and x sub 0 are all numbers. Again, we do not change y and x. We only replace m by given m, x sub 0 by given x sub 0, y sub 0 by given y sub 0. This is the second scenario or second situation that you might encounter when you're writing equation of a line. The third scenario, 2 points like x sub 0, y sub 0, and x sub 1, y sub 1 are given. You don't have any slope, nothing like that. What you need to do, you need to find the slope first. In this case, first, find m, which is y1 minus y0 over x1 minus x sub 0. Then use either 1 or 2. Then you're done. You have the equation of your line. What's the fourth scenario? The fourth scenario is, well, you usually have 1 point on the line, and the line is either parallel or perpendicular to another line. 1 point, x sub 0, y sub 0 is given, and the line is parallel to a second line with equation y equals to, let's call it alpha x plus beta. Since these two lines are parallel to each other, it means that they have the same slope. Since these lines are parallel, so M is equal to alpha. This is the equation of the second line that your line is parallel to. So it means that they have the same slope. So you already have your M. M is equal to alpha. Now use the point and your slope. Take 1 or 2 and write the equation of the line. Use x sub 0, y sub 0, and M, and follow 1 or 2. Well, in the fifth scenario, you have 1 point, like x sub 0, y sub 0, and you have a line which is perpendicular to, and a line which is perpendicular to the line that we're trying to write. So suppose you have line y equals to alpha x plus beta. So M is going to be -1 over alpha. Guys, it's important. If they are parallel to each other, M and alpha are the same number. If they are perpendicular to each other, then M is -1 over alpha. You have to flip the slope and multiply it by a negative sign. Then use x sub 0, y sub 0, and M, follow 1 or 2. So this is the fifth scenario that you might see when you're trying to write equation of a line. Very good. Suppose you have the following examples. Now remember that we have 5 scenarios. We need to identify each scenario and follow the method. Question says, example, write equation of the line. Our very first example says, well, M is given as 3 and x sub 0, y sub 0 is given to us as 1 and -2. Okay, so slope is given, 1 point is given. We're going to use point slope formula. Since M is 3 and 1 point is given, we use point, the name of the formula, point slope formula. What's the point slope formula? Y minus y sub 0 equals to M times x minus x sub 0. Let's substitute everything. So y minus y sub 0. Guys, your y sub 0 is a negative number, so we need parentheses. Y minus y sub 0, -2, equals to M. M is 3. Okay. 3 times x minus x sub 0. X minus x sub 0 is just 1. So we don't need any parentheses for 1, just a positive number. I'm going to copy it down here. Okay, should I simplify this? Of course, you cannot leave an equation like this and say that, hey, I have equation of the line. It must be in this form. Y equals to mx plus b. This is our goal. We want to isolate y on one side. Okay, simplify. Negative times negative is positive. You get y plus 2 equals to, now you have to distribute 3 into parentheses. 3 times x, 3 times 1. You get 3x minus 3. 3x minus 3. Is y isolated on one side? Of course not. So we have to get rid of this constant. So we subtract both sides by negative 2. We have to get rid of this minus 2. This 2 by subtracting 2. So you're going to see y equals to, well, 3x minus 3 minus 2 is minus 5. This is the equation of the line passing through this point with slope 3, which is the same as the format that we presented for a general linear equation. Very good. Okay. So again, guys, when you're writing the point slope formula, you have x and y as variables. We are not allowed to plug in values for x and y. We have to memorize this formula. Y minus a number equals to another number times x minus another number. And this formula is different from the definition of the slope. Slope says, hey, if you have 2 points, x sub 0, y sub 0, x1, y1, if you have 2 points, numbers for them, then slope is defined as difference in y values over difference in x values. This is different from the point slope formula. Another example for you. Well, this is interesting. You're making it interesting. So question says, write the equation of the line passing through the point. What's the point to a negative 1? And parallel to the line. 2x minus 3y equals to 5. Well. Which case is this? This is number 4 in our classification. You have a point on the line, and the line is parallel to a second line, which is this guy. So first, remember that since they are parallel to each other, m and alpha are equal to each other. We need to figure out what alpha is. We need to write this in the form as y equals to alpha x plus beta. Okay, how do I do that? I need to isolate y on one side. So what are you going to do? You're going to add 3y to both sides or subtract 2x from both sides. Both of these approaches are absolutely correct. You get negative 3y equals to minus 2x plus 5. Are we done yet? No. Guys, you have to have y isolated on one side. So to get rid of negative 3, you divide everything by minus 3. So y, negative 3 divided by negative 3 equals to negative 2x over negative 3 plus 5 over negative 3. So negative 3 and negative 3, they are the same factor. You can cancel them out. Hey, we isolated y on one side. This is my y equals to. Negative divided by negative is positive. So you get 2 over 3 back times x. And here you have 5 over negative 3 is -5/3. So what is my alpha? My alpha, or the slope of the second line, is 2/3. This is my alpha, or slope of the second line.
That's why you use alpha instead of m.
So we're going to use m for this line. Y is mx plus b. We're just going to differentiate between these two so to avoid any confusion. So this is my second line, which is given this way, and I have another line which has this point, passes through of it, and parallel to this line. So as long as I find alpha, I have my m, but it's not the same line. These two lines are different from each other. So this is scenario number 4. In scenario number 4, we had one point on the line and another line which is parallel to this line that we're trying to write the equation. So this line, we need to find the slope of this line. What is the slope of this line? We have to do a little bit of algebra. So I found alpha. I found the slope of the second line. This is the slope of the second line. But I need to write down the equation of the first line. Here m and alpha are equal to each other since it is parallel. Since these lines are parallel, m and alpha are equal to each other. So I have my slope. Slope is 2/3. I either need to follow 1 or 2. Okay. If I follow 1, then I need to use these points on this line. Am I right? So you have your x sub 0, y sub 0. We have to substitute them into the formula so we can find b. Otherwise, we cannot find b. Or if you don't feel comfortable using this method, you can use point slope formula. Y minus y sub 0 equals m x minus x sub 0. Your x sub 0 is 2, your y sub 0 is -1, and m is 2/3. Just substitute everything. Y minus -1 is 2/3 x minus 2. Just simplify. Y plus 1 is 2/3 times x minus 4/3. What did I do? I just distribute this guy here. Very good. So I need to subtract 1 from both sides to isolate my y. So y is equal to 2/3 x. Okay, here reviewing fractions, guys. What do we have? We have -4/3 minus 1. 1 doesn't have the same denominator as the first fraction, which is 3. So what we're going to do, we're going to copy down the first fraction. We're going to copy down the operation in between them, which is subtraction. And instead of 1, we're going to write down 3 divided by 3. Now that they have the same denominator, we can write down one denominator and combine the numerators. -4 minus 3, which is -7/3. -7/3. This is the equation of the line passing through this point and parallel to this line. This is our equation.
Professor, can you say that one more time, that last part you did?